So, if I sound tired, it's because I'm laying in bed as I'm making this video. This video is a couple days after a conversation I had with a Hispanic woman where it's one of the very few times that I've ever prematurely ended a conversation because I knew it wasn't going anywhere. I was tired. I'm tired of explaining shit to people. I'm tired of people not getting it. And I don't have the patience, to explain it to them. And, I start feeling like one of those moo-ha-ha evil Republicans, who just kind of look at, a certain class of people like they're fucked up and that's just how they are. And, they can't be helped, and it's better to exploit them and manipulate them and let them think what they want to think, and you be the power player and make certain moves. But like there's a certain caveat to that, because it's like the moo-ha-ha white oligarchy has created that situation and they exploit it. And then on the other hand, I'm black, right? So, the idea of manipulating my own people to my own benefit, just first off, I don't even see where the structural entities are to even exercise or engage or participate in anything like that is. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to exploit your own people, then I'm saying you need to have a system in place. Like, your patriarchy needs to be like other patriarchies, where you have class stratification and you manipulate the masses, right? Some people would argue that that's exactly what black Democrats do. And, I would say, yeah, that's very similar to what black Democrats do. But the problem is that black Democrats, they don't control the economic landscape of their own communities. They're not the oligarchs of the black communities. They're just politicians who are puppets in the white infrastructure, who are essentially, the overseers who have been given a couple of crumbs, to keep, black folks in lane, and, basically, do the whole, Henry Ford, with the pastors type of thing, where we're looking for high type fellows, basically a bunch of obedient Negroes and black folks that fall in line and basically do how they did in Alabama, and you get like over 95% of the black men and black women voting for the Democrat, as though the Democrats are going to do anything for them. And I could make a whole video about the way that they've been running around with this black women, all this black women praising, even though black males numbers were pretty much equally as high, which is not something that I'm proud of. But I'm just saying, you see the propaganda, like just how they're like, oh, and the black woman saved us, the black woman, they're the backbone of the Democratic Party, all that sort of woman stroking, which again, is additionally used to, diminish the role of the black man in the black community, in the black house. Like they don't ever want to see, black male leadership or black patriarchy to be reestablished, which is why, I call white people out and say that they're full of shit when it comes to them claiming that they want to see the black community fixed and intact and, two-parent homes. They love to throw that two-parent home bullshit up there. They don't want to see intact two-parent homes in the black community, because like I said, at the end of the day, an intact, thriving black community means a community that will be what? Economically challenging other patriarchal communities, namely the white patriarchy, in the marketplace, and they can't have that. If the black community was intact, you would have black businesses that were servicing the black community. And that means that whatever dollars were going to the black businesses that were servicing the black community, they would not be going to those handful of non-black businesses or white businesses or white carpenters or contractors or whatever service you want to name. They wouldn't be getting that money. So like these are the economic realities of the world. It does not behoove or benefit white people to lift black people up out of a position of servitude and place us on equal footing to themselves. This is how the game is played. Yeah, I grew up on multiculturalism. I grew up on things are gonna be better, and everybody's gonna be beige, and nobody's gonna care about race anymore, and it's gonna be everybody holding hands and all that Martin Luther King bullshit. That's not how the world operates. The world operates on group economics and tribalism. That is how the world operates. I don't care how much you want to say Hamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, sweet twinkle of Jesus. None of that magical bullshit matters. At the end of the day, groups look out for themselves, and that's just how the cookie crumbles in terms of economics. So no, they do not want to see black people better off. What they want to do is they want to use crap like that to silence us and shut us up whenever we file complaints about how unfair and unjust this system is, and how we've been essentially crippled and locked into being a permanent underclass, right? But anyway, long story short, sorry for that long ass introduction. So I was having this conversation with this Hispanic chick who claims that she came from the bottom. And she brought up some point about white women or something, and my views as my militant views, which I don't understand sometimes, because I'm saying to myself, I'm like, but you ain't never seen me with a white chick. So like what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But anyway, so I told her, I forget how the conversation went exactly, but I just said, I'm like, yeah, I have those views because I'm woke, but I don't come from the bottom. She was like, you don't? I was like, no. I was like, I grew up in a predominantly white suburb. And then she got defensive. She's like, oh, you can't talk about poverty then because I came from the bottom. I was like, the fuck does that have to do with the shit that I'm laying out about poverty and the problem with poverty? And then she dove into how she views herself as a spiritual person. And see, this is another thing, right? And I'm gonna be sexist as fuck right now. Although I've come across black men who think the same way, and the reason why it doesn't even matter that she's fucking Hispanic is because if she came from the bottom as she claims, which listen to her talk and listen to the things that she cherishes and the things that she values, I'm like, oh, here we go with that poverty mentality of elevating all the intangible bullshit. I mean, it's just as bad as religion. It's just as bad as religion. I'm like, and it blows my mind at how people can, cause like even herself, like she was involved with dudes that were hustling. She hustled on herself and everything. It blows my mind at how you can get people who hustle, right? Whether it's drug dealing or whatever, they do what they gotta do in the hood to make money. And yet, when you say it's all about the money, they catch feelings. Like, it's mind blowing, right? And I get it because, right, like legitimate money, corporate America and all that other stuff, black folks don't have access to, right? So people who don't have access to the avenues of legitimate wealth in that corporate America sense, they don't want to define themselves by that. Nobody wants to define themselves by things they don't have access to. So what do black people do? We go out here and we define ourselves by, and basically, black people are really the biggest pushers of this, right? Because like when you look at it, like black people have made poverty its own culture. And so you have a lot of other people who are not black who gravitate towards black people if they find themselves socioeconomically at the bottom, like black people. So like this is where you get, your rappers like Lil Peep, or you get your freaking Arabs or other groups and whatnot, or Hispanic people that really gravitate towards black culture and hip hop culture and inner city culture and how you dress, and I mean just the whole inner city style is black folks. That's what it is, right? And you got people out here, I mean, they be dressing as black as they can dress, and then like low key, like they don't even like black people, or they would feel some type of way about their brother or sister dating a black person, right? You know those types, right? And when you look at like how they, I'm like, man, you all lined up and you got a problem with, the black dude dating your sister? The fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy shit, right? Listen to all type of hip hop. You can hear all the profanity blasting out of their beats, headsets, and everything. It's just real crazy. The way that people hijack and appropriate black culture, so that they don't feel like total shit being in poverty. Like, it's soothing to them. Like, I'm keeping it real. I'm this, I'm that, right? And that's my biggest problem, because like, I get it, and that's what she doesn't get about, or didn't get about me. It's like, I get why you value those things. But, the charisma, the swag, I'm our own individual, I'm my own boss, the rest of society is lame. But to me, it's the equivalent of, being, the ugly girl or the nerdy girl, and you're claiming that you're rejecting the other girls who are truly popular because they rejected you. Right? And I'm like, that doesn't change the reality that you're still the fat chick, or you're still the ugly chick, right? It doesn't change that reality, even though you want to make it out to be like you rejected them. And that's what I see black people doing who live and exist in poverty. They try to act like they're rejecting the system more than their system has rejected them. Then they elevate this culture of poverty and act like, that's the real shit. That's realness. All that other shit, all the shit that a system, and corporate America and all that's the fake shit. That's the fakeness. And I'm like, this is retarded, because they put you in the position that made you the way that you are. All the effects of prolonged exposure to poverty. Your whole street culture wouldn't even exist if there was, financial equity in the world, or some sort of economic parity in the world. It wouldn't even exist. All the rappers running around talking about how hard they had it and how much harder they are and how they went to jail and all that other shit wouldn't exist if the system didn't put you there. But I just noticed that it's like you get black folks, and again, she's Hispanic, throw in Hispanic, anybody who's at the bottom, I mean, they really don't get how, I'm like, you're not in the dominant position. I don't care how much you want to talk about how real your shit is. You're not in the dominant position. Like they set it up so that you're in this position, and all you're trying to do is you're trying to survive it. I get it all, right? You're embracing this and that, right? But it's no different than the religious people that go off to church every Sunday while they still in poverty. It's a coping mechanism. You don't want to feel like total shit, so you tell yourself, oh, I'm keeping it real, and I'm keeping it 100. We street, we gully, we all that. But at the end of the day, they're the ones living in the big house on the hill. They're the ones that are living comfortable. They're the ones that don't have food deserts. They're the ones that go to the best schools. They're the ones that are driving around in, the $80,000 automobiles and up. They're the ones that get to live in downtown Manhattan. They're the ones that have prime real estate. They're the ones that have beach houses and ski houses and yachts and boats and all this other stuff. And you sitting on your block talking about, but this is the realness. That's the fakeness. They're corny. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I would rather be corny in the Hamptons than be sitting on the block in North Philly somewhere. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. And some of them, like, they don't even, like, they don't know any better. Like, they really think that, like, that means something. they're not over there, being corny as they want to see. Again, it's like a bunch of fat girls trying to claim that they never really wanted to be a part of the hot girl sorority in the first place. I'm like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. First off, you see this with all the shit that, like, what the Italians say about blacks, y'all nigger rich, right? Black people, they want to sit there and they will say, oh yeah, all that shit is whack, them motherfuckers is corny. But yet, anytime y'all come across some money, whether it's legal or illegal, first thing you want to do is go out and buy some Italian designer shit. First thing you want to do is buy some shit that comes off of the freaking runways in Milan. First thing you want to do, you gotta have your Gucci bag and your red bottoms and your Burberry and your Dolce and Gabbana, right? And your Versace and your Armani, right? That's the first thing you want to brag about. Niggas putting Louis Vuitton on the seat so your candy painted car, or they Caprice and shit like that. I'm like, it's the first thing you do. But yet you want me to believe that you believe that all that shit is bullshit. Bullshit. You know what I mean? Like you grab more status symbols from them than they grab status symbols from you. Granted, congratulations, black folks. Because of you, automobiles' rims have grown larger over the last 10-15 years or so, right? If you now all of Chrysler's cars essentially come with 20-inch rims, from the Dodge Challenger to the Chrysler 300 to many other automobiles. Now they all come stock with the big rims, right? You don't need to put big rims on it, because at minimal, you're already going to start with 18-inch rims, right? And I definitely think that all of that was attributed to, black culture and hip hop culture, and, the way that we, the music videos and everything else. Yes, there's an appeal, to, especially in hip hop videos, because what it does is it takes the street element and then it associates it with status and wealth. Right. But as I stated in previous videos, it's kind of weird, because none of that, like there's no hard work associated with those material things that are being portrayed and displayed in the video, right? Like there's no, it's like, bam, there's the BMW, right? Bam, Lloyd Banks is riding in the BMW, he in the 6 Series, my nigga, right? But there's no aspect of the infrastructure that goes into manufacturing, producing, and making that BMW, and the designers and the engineers, right? There's no black engineers making BMWs, right? There's no community, there's no factories, right? There's no wealth machine, there's no infrastructure that has the black man directly associated with the BMW without having to go through the white man who manufactures and produces it. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we skip all of the technical shit when it comes to all these status symbols, right? We don't create the status symbols. We don't attack. We don't establish the symbols. What we do is the same thing that we accuse white folks of doing to us, which is we appropriate their status symbols and then incorporate it into us and then say, oh, this is black culture. I mean, seriously speaking, ain't a single item of clothing that black folks wear, I don't care how urban it is, ain't a single piece of clothing that is going to say made in some African American community somewhere, made in Atlanta, made in Harlem, right? Or even made in Africa. The very clothes you wear, regardless of whether it says Sean John or what's the other shit? What's the other FUBU or whatever? I mean, you don't manufacture or produce it, right? And nobody's thinking like big picture. right? Nobody thinks about how powerless they actually are. Like one of the things that she said to me, and I heard this before because this Styles said the same thing years ago. He was like, man, what's the difference between a drug dealer flipping a key and, what them white men are doing on Wall Street, right? Especially when it comes to, the hustle, when it comes to, doing the numbers on, getting your return on investment and all that other stuff. Not much. Even when it comes to the thievery, as we've seen with the white folks on Wall Street with their Harvard degrees and everything else, right? There's really not much of a difference. It's just they're doing some scurvy shit legitimately versus, Jamal on the block who's doing some scurvy shit, illegally. But, again, he's been put in that situation. He was born in that situation. Where the guy on Wall Street, maybe, he probably had supportive parents that got him, to Wall Street or had the proper, connections and whatnot. You see this, you see the group economics, when you go up there and everybody has a Jewish last name, everybody's Jewish. You think that's just as a matter of fact? Come on now. But, I just got tired of just talking with her, because I was like, it's all about the money. Like, fuck everything else. Like, seriously, like, I just want to tell, like, a lot of these people in the city, like, fuck your culture and fuck what you talking about. You need to focus on money. You need to focus on the best and most effective way to get yourself out of your predicament. Like, I mean, it's mind-boggling at how you get people in the hood, one breath, they love money, they love material possessions, right? Nobody wants to fuck with a broke nigga. But then at the same time, because there's so many people in poverty, the rhetoric is anti-money. And I'm like, I mean, that's got to be the most brilliant, effective tool against poor people, is to convince poor people that the very thing that they need to change their condition should be shunned. That there's something wrong with it. You start hearing all type of dumb shit coming from, poor people. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. It's not about the money. Evil. Rich people are evil. So the fuck, what if they evil? You know what I'm saying? Like, so the fuck, I'm saying, let's go with the idea that they are evil. So you mean to tell me that if you had the same money, that you would suddenly somehow become evil? That's about as nonsensical as the anti-gun people who want to act like a gun holds evil spirits in it that make people do evil things. So if you own a gun, you're going to go out there and you're going to kill somebody because the evil spirits in the gun, like it's fucking Jumanji, are going to make you go out there and do some evil shit. Like, it's just retarded. It's nonsensical. But this is the type of nonsense that a lot of black people espouse in the inner city. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is dumb. This is retarded. You know what I mean? Like, it's like so many people just don't get it. They just get stuck in this, just not like they're locked into that world. And they don't have any larger or greater worldview about how the game is actually played. They have none. And you can't explain it to them. Because the first thing they're going to do is dismiss you, if you don't come from what they come from. And I'm like, that's dumb, because first off, if I came from what they came from, right, I might be able to relate to certain things a little bit more. Although I have seen those black folks that, they come from what they come from and they still come out uppity. What the hood ever do for me, right? Those black people who make it out, what the hood ever do for me, right? They come out talking like that, right? But I'm just saying, if I came from the hood, I wouldn't be thinking the way that I'm thinking. I wouldn't have the knowledge base that I have about being able to make the connections that I didn't come up with it all on my own. A lot of these things came from other people's experiences and conversations and everything else. But I'm saying I was privy to watching other races of men and how they operate, and the environment that I grew up in, and the difference between, being raised in the white patriarchy versus being raised in the black matriarchy. Okay, I saw how things were working, and then you see when things don't work, and then you were able to compare and contrast. But if you growing up in a neighborhood and ain't nothing but single mothers on the block and fathers ain't there and in the home, what the fuck do you know about patriarchy? You know what I'm saying? Let's be real about that shit. Like, what the fuck do you know about the intricate details about how that shit actually works? Besides, the women that try to run around here and try to, sell black males responsibility devoid of leadership. Moving past that dumb shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, I had access to, other communities. It's part of the reason I came online, because I'm just like, what is going on with us? Like, seriously, what is going on? And all that disrespect, and as Tariq Nasheed said, I'll give him credit for the term disrespectful disposition. I didn't really understand where that was coming from. And via the various conversations that we had, whether it's Cap or Thugtition, all that stuff came to light. All that stuff really came to light about the patriarchy that we don't have and whatnot. But the mentality of poverty. Look, I know it's not going to go away unless you get rid of the poverty. Plain and simple. The symptoms aren't going to go away unless you get rid of the infection. And that's what we need to do. That's aside from the fact that it breeds self-hatred. Black people always being associated with negativity. I was explaining this to this white woman, who was very receptive, but apparently I didn't know this when I was talking to her, but she grew up around nothing but non-white folks. So she was a little bit more woke than a lot of other people. And we got to, talking, and I just said, I was like, she was like, I thank you for the conversation, because I couldn't have this conversation with other black people. And I was like, to be honest, I was like, I can't have this conversation with other black people. Like you think you couldn't have this conversation. I can't even have this conversation. That's how bad it is. But, I brought up the point about, the self-hatred, because there was because, it was Christmas time. And there was what do you call that shit? The nativity, whatever it is, the baby Jesus, like, manger type shit, and where I was, nothing but black folks. Okay. And I walked past the damn thing, and I brought that up to her. I said, it's like, I'm like, well, black people got a lot of self-hatred. We don't see anything but ourselves in a negative light. We're always associated with poverty, and not having shit. White people are always associated with positivity and wealth and status and everything else. And then, to add insult to injury, we got to walk past, white baby Jesus. Right? So now, again, white people are associated with godliness and, the light and, all that magical aura shit. And black people, like, what the fuck are we at that point? So I'm saying all of this is just one big fat mind fuck when it comes to black people. So, negative portrayals in the media, lack of value and appreciation for, how we look, especially when it comes to black women, especially when it comes to dark-skinned black women, and then, the white, God complex, that God looks like, Zeus with a beard, right? Or actually Zeus did have a beard, but anyway, you get it, God looks like Zeus, right? That sort of thing. And I was like, this is a serious problem. So, unless we get rid of the poverty, all this stuff is not going to go away. And I fear that, it's past the point of no return, because seriously speaking, at this point, it is a culture now. It is a culture. And you got people who are not only unemployed, but they're unemployable. You know, the whole mentality. I mean, you got straight up savages out here. Now, y'all know I don't like to use that term, especially around white folks, because they love to run with the word term savage and animal and everything else. When white people do some fucked up shit, it's like, oh, that's a bad white person. When black people do some fucked up shit, oh, those savages, those animals, those heathens, those monkeys. You know, we're everything but human when we do fucked up shit. When white people do fucked up shit, they're just like, that evil white person. That person's just evil. You know, that one white person out of all white people, he's just something wrong with him. You know, but with black people, oh god, it's like, yeah, I mean, you see, all you gotta do is go over there on active self-protection and look at the comments. Even though he's tried to clean up the comments, but there's, you know, any video, just type in any just what's that, police activity. Go over there on police activity on YouTube and, you know, go into the comment sections and notice, like, whenever the video is a bunch of white people doing some criminal shit, you know, a white person gets, you know, shot by police, suicide by cop or whatever, you know, I mean, there's some reasonable people over there. They'll be like, justified, not justified, justified, not justified. But, you know, the racist comments are always on the black videos. Always. Even when you have another video that'll immediately follow it up with some white person doing some equally fucked up shit, you know, it's just crazy. But it's like, you know, it's just cultural at this point. You know, I'm watching them videos of these guys, you know, blasting on each other on the streets and everything else like that. Like, how the hell do you get them out of that sort of mindset? And maybe that does take somebody, you know, from the inner city, you know, from the hood, somebody who can relate like that. Me, I'm just talking common sense, you know, and I know it takes more than just, you know, common sense and, you know, words of encouragement and wisdom and everything else like that. Like, one of the things the white girl asked me, she said, well, why can't you all just focus on education? And I was like, well, there's a couple of problems. But the main one, you know, is the fact that we don't control the economic landscape. We don't control the occupational hierarchy. And I made the point about, you can't sell a dream that you don't own. You know, so, you know, I can sit there. There's the main two problems is, one, you know, I can encourage a young man to go to college, but I don't have any opportunities for him. That's the first issue. You know, and the second issue, which spins off of the first issue, is at the end of the day, after I sell him this dream and he goes off and does it, he can't come to me to get the opportunity. He's got to go out there and beg a white man for a job. He's got to beg another group of men for his opportunity. Right? And people, before they jump up and start talking about, oh, but he's just going to business for himself. You need to have a disposable income to go into business. You need to have extra money lying around to make that sort of financial investment. Not only that, but you know, you need to have other men, you know, who can also do the same thing that you can work with. You know, and it's trying to one-man army shit against other races of men who clearly do not one-man army is a fool's errand. But, you know, that's what a lot of people think, you know, is a possibility, because they just want to go out there and pump out wishful thinking, you know, out there and tell everybody, oh, it's possible. All you got to do is buy some Bitcoin. You know, it's like, oh man, you know, Bitcoin's, what is Bitcoin like? The last time I checked, it was like 7,000, and it was like, went up to like 10,000, and it went up to like 17,000. I was like, stupid. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it was just frustrating. I had to end the conversation with the lady, because I'm just like, you know what? Like, you're just not gonna get it. Like, you don't realize how, I don't know what term to use, like how evil the world is. Like, it's like, this shit is cutthroat. This shit is not like a movie, you know. And that's another thing. I feel like movies have really fucked black folks up, because black people think that life ends like a movie, that good always prevails. That's why I like them Chinese movies, because in Chinese movies everybody dies. You ever notice that? House of the Flying Daggers, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. In Chinese movies, everybody dies, in real traditional, because, Chinese are like realistic about it. They understand that, it's the cycle of life. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There's no, Western concepts of, running off into the sunset and being happy for forever after. What the fuck is forever after any goddamn way? You know what I mean? Forever after. They don't want to show you. They don't, because it's sad if they die, and Chinese people don't even view it as being sad. That's just the way it goes. That's how Chinese movies are. You should watch some classic Chinese structured movies, because there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then all the characters dies. Like, again, what Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like, the end of that movie didn't even make any sense. Bitch jumps over the bridge and then floats into the middle of nowhere. Like, that was her suicide. Like, literally floating off over the bridge into the fucking canyon. It's like, really? Like, that's the end of the movie? Like, was it necessary for her to die? Like, why couldn't they just end the movie? That's how they end the movie. With black folks, they think everything is a goddamn fairy tale. They think that the worst of the worst can't happen to them, therefore they never prepare for, shit to happen to them. They just don't do it. I get so angry when I sit around and watch them, these white prepper, channels. You can see them when you go to I think I opened up the videos that I liked. So you can see the videos I liked on my channel. I didn't know that they were closed. I thought people could see them all along, but apparently people couldn't see them. But I got random videos in there that I like. A lot of, you'll see I got eclectic interest in a lot of shit. I go from science videos to video games to racial shit to, again, the white nationalist channels. I watch their shit. I watch all that. This is Europa. You know what I mean? If you gonna challenge your enemy, you need to understand your enemy. You need to understand how they think. You need to understand their positions. But I don't feel like a lot of people do that. They want to live in their state of delusion. We got a lot of delusional black people running around. A lot. And they just I mean if you want to become more woke, I only got one suggestion to you, and that's Amos Wilson videos. That's it. That's all I got. There's a ton of Amos Wilson videos on here. Feel Good History, The Negro Assimilationist, what was the other one? What was his video that he did that was titled Manhood something? It was something about manhood. That Amos Wilson video talking about manhood training. And basically how you can't have the boys being sensitive and they have to be separated from the girls and being raised, stuff I've already talked about. I already knew it. I was like, you gotta forge men by fire. You can't forge men any other way. Not when they're supposed to be your warriors, not when everything is predicated on what they do and don't do, and women and children survive based on how strong those men are. I'm like, you don't fuck with that. That's literally like contaminating your own well. If you're dependent on men like that, you don't fuck with the training of men ever. It's nuts. The type of nonsense that I still continue to hear and be, proselytized all over the, black female internet. But I digress from that point. I'm just saying. This sort of poverty mentality that we have is massively damaging, to us. The way that we not only embrace poverty, but we celebrate it. We celebrate the conditions of poverty and dive into how it makes people more colorful. And I don't doubt that it doesn't. I don't doubt that it doesn't make people more colorful, but the problem is a lot of people, when they want to talk about being in those situations, they always want to talk about, the artistic positive aspects. They don't want to talk about the negative aspects. And then if they ever do talk about the negative aspects, they always want to act like, oh, it made me stronger, acting like, in the process they didn't get psychologically and emotionally damaged. Oh, it only made me stronger. Yeah, and it also fucked you up, which is why you got trust issues, or why you're hostile or paranoid all the time, or whatever. Nobody comes out of those situations unscathed. If you have just fucked up parents. There's people that got fucked up parents. A guy was telling me the other day, he had a it wasn't told to me directly, but basically somebody knows somebody else who knows a teacher, and the teacher has a student who comes into class all the time tired, and the teacher inquired about why the student was tired. Well, turns out the student goes to a homeless shelter to sleep because he doesn't want to be in the house because his mother prostitutes herself when he gets home. So he doesn't want to be there while she's doing that. So he goes and he basically goes to some sort of shelter and stays there, but doesn't get a whole bunch of sleep while he's there. Then when he comes to school and he's in class all day, he's like just zombified and he's exhausted. And even the teacher, who I believe is white, he was fucked up about that. Just hearing that, he's like fucked up about it. Like, cause he's like, I see it. Like, I see just how much, these people just like their situations just fucked up. Like, it's not just, they're just lazy and they're just like that. Like, no, they were born into fucked up, unsupported situations, and there's not a lot of hope for many of them, but again, this was told to me through the grapevine, but it's just I'm just frustrated at how we just celebrate poverty the way that we do, or celebrate the idea of people coming from poverty. I'm like, man, if the community was fixed, that wouldn't be an issue. There would be no poverty to celebrate. There would be no struggle to celebrate. I'm trying to eliminate the struggle, but for some reason, it's like a lot of black folks out here who think that the struggle and who we are, our identity as black people, is one and the same. I'm like, fuck that shit. What you mean struggle and our identity as African Americans is one and the same? We need to change that. But the problem is changing that requires an extraordinary amount of discipline and an extraordinary amount of I don't want to say sacrifice, that's not the right term. Extraordinary amount of cooperation, and trust, with one another, then you'll be able to get this stuff done. It also requires us to focus on money, in a way. Let me back that up. It requires us to focus on money, but the thing is like, reason I already know the reason why people don't want to focus on money, especially in any sort of transition, is because it's just like what I see when I look at the Indian community. In the Indian community, if you're not a doctor or engineer, or you aren't an educated person, a highly educated person, at the very minimal a master's to a PhD or MD, you ain't shit. You ain't shit. Nobody coming around talking about, come meet my son, come marry my son. The first thing they're going to ask is, what does he do? What does he do? I forget the term that the Muslims use. There's actually a special term that they use, running around trying to find partners for their children, based on prestige and what they do and how much money they make and everything else like that. That's just to show you how much structure they have. But with us, that's not the case. We really get butthurt and offended at the idea of creating a system that would essentially exclude various numbers of people. right? We want to rescue everybody. Everybody from the bottom is going to come. I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. If there was an intact black community, there would still be lower classes in the black community. Most of the black community, or more of it, would be intact, just like you see in the white community. But again, there would still be people at the bottom. And in that setup, in that structure, you would have, the black people who have, and they're educated and control the economic landscape and the businesses, and the leaders of Tulsa, Oklahoma, like they would have a level of prestige that I don't know what segment of the black community would be, but that other segment that would be poor wouldn't have. And so they wouldn't have the prestige, they wouldn't have the positive reputation, and all those things that come with, and this is one of the things that come with an intact community. People are going to measure themselves by actual tangible success, not the intangibles of charisma, swag, and game and all that other stuff. It's not that nobody values that at all, but I just think that a lot of black folks are compensating. When you don't have anything else, you want to focus. You want to put all your eggs in one basket and hyper focus on the intangibles, and we don't want to focus on the tangibles, right? And so, like other groups, they focus on tangibles, and then whatever's left over, they try to imitate black folks, and then that's where you get the cultural appropriation. But their bread and butter, is not swag and charisma. Like, that's the graving on the turkey, right? The gravy on the turkey. We try to make what should be the gravy the main meal. Like, we try to make that the turkey, and it's like, yo, that's not the turkey. They got the turkey. Yeah, they may not have perfected black swag, but they got turkey over there. All you got is gravy. And black people, they don't want to hear the fact that all they got is gravy. Like, your shit is not tangible. You can't challenge anything. You can't fight anything. You can't defend yourself against anything. But yet you think that, well, I'm an original man. What the hell does that mean? What does that have to do with anything? Again, there's not a cannon factory in the whole South. That's where we are. So, we got to work on that. I mean, we definitely got to work on killing this culture of we got to work on killing poverty itself and the culture of poverty. And again, recognize that an intact black community will have standards that people will have to meet, and expectations and everything else. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that a lot of black people are fearful of and really don't want. They want to kind of keep it the way it is, where instead of it being a graded system where you have A's and B's, C's, D's, and F's, that it's just a pass-fail. I mean, literally, they want the black community to be like a pass-fail college course. Oh no, it don't matter what grade you get, it's just pass-fail. That way, nobody is meant to feel bad, in that situation. They much rather have it where nobody feels bad at all. It's like, a socialist mentality. Nobody feels bad at all. Right? But that's unrealistic. And on top of that, that's not going to breed competitiveness, in young people. To want to go out there and get that prestige and get that title. And I worked hard for this, and I deserve, this, and this, and it's like, yeah, and then you get the people bragging, and they feel some type of way. I mean, the crazy thing is this already goes on with drug dealers. Like, this already goes on with hustling. Who's just selling a little bit of weed versus who's moving weight. Who's a boss and who's not a boss, right? So it still goes on. It's just not legitimate. So, like, black people running around trying to act like, they're really not operating the same way as all other communities, but in many regards they are. In terms of you give them some money and stuff like that, and there is competition in there, but like it's ghetto competition. It's favela competition. It's not competition that's going to equate to being able to go out there and compete in the global markets and challenge other patriarchal communities and bring wealth and resources back into the black community, so that the black community can thrive, so that your little girl can go to a decent school, and so that your son can live a long and prosperous life, and be educated and provided for and taken care of, and then go off and take care of his female counterpart, so on and so forth, right? We're really missing that, and I get so sick and tired of hearing people who always want to jump up and present these sort of well, this is black culture, and you can't speak on the hood because you don't know about the hood. What does that have to do with what I just said about the fact that we focus too much on intangibles when we should be focusing on tangibles, which is, how the very group of people who, put us in the lane that we're in, that's the very tool that they use to put us there. Right? Why is it money so unimportant, but yet the money is how we got the money that other groups have, or the muhaha white oligarchy has. That's how they keep us in check. They don't keep us in check with nothing. They keep us in check with tangibles. So how can tangibles be insignificant or unimportant? It doesn't make any sense. To act like white people can create white supremacy in the absence of having money and resources. No, they can't. That's why they see to it to make sure that we don't have the same resources they have, because they know, that like a lightsaber used in the hands of any Jedi, it can be used against them. You know what I mean? So they don't. If they're a Jedi, they don't want the Sith having a lightsaber. They're like, oh hell no! All Sith are denied lightsabers. We don't want y'all having lightsabers. And then they convince the Sith that us being the Sith, oh, y'all don't need no lightsaber. Actually, they should be the Sith and we should be the Jedi. But I digress. But you get my point, right? They want to convince us that we don't need lightsabers as Jedi in the Star Wars universe. Like, the fuck? Would you gonna force push your way through everything? I don't need a lightsaber. I'm just gonna force push everything, and I'm gonna do the Dooku, make the ceiling collapse and throw rocks at people. It's like stupid. Clearly this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Force, so they gotta whip out the lightsabers, but you've been convinced that you don't need a lightsaber. I'm like, that's dumb. You gotta be dumb. Same thing I say about the Second Amendment. Black people running around, oh, the cops is killing us, oh, it's rape, it's the Ku Klux Klan, they raping and pillaging, oh, look what they did to Elaine, Arkansas, oh, look what they did to Rosewood, look what they did to Tulsa, oh. Niggas be the first ones up there, Master said we don't need no guns, fucking stupid asses. Anyway, I'm tired. That's my video. That's all I gotta say. SWP out.